innovative content, global audience.
Friends, good morning, viewers. Yes, it's another beautiful Wednesday here in the Federal Capital Territory. We're reaching you live from our SRO TV studio here in Abuja. This is Wake Up Nigeria. My name is Princess KESSY, and of course, I have with me on the show today
Patience, OKOSUN.
How was your night, Patience?
It's just fine, thank God.
A lot of issues have been trending.
Mm-hmm.
So
This Binani.
I know a lot of people are heartbroken. But like I said earlier, I said some days ago here.
Anyway.
It's sad. Like I said, I suggested as well, and we also had the guest yesterday that said that was too quick, and that was the first thing that came to my mind when I saw that acceptance speech. Immediately I said, no, this is not called for. When you know there is still 10 local government yet to be announced and you rush to do that. Anyway, we have a lot of issues, but the one that is even I feel like is not the federal government needs to do something quickly on is the aviation union strike. That is something that is biting hard on Nigerians.
And they're even talking about shutdown, and
that will not be funny because a lot of
serious.
people have things to do. They travel. Of course, we know the roads are not safe for people to move around.
Yeah.
So I think the safest way for a lot of people is to go via the airway, and now we can't have that as well. And so I think that is something they should do something on. We're going to move on quickly with the newspaper reviews, and I'm going to kickstart this morning with the Nation newspaper. Now, these are some of the stories making waves from the Nation newspaper this morning, and the major headline here says INEC IG hammer wreck, CP has caught hurt Binani. I'm going to take that again. INEC IG hammer wreck, CP has caught hurt Binani. And the writer here says Fintiri is Adamawa governor-elect. Binani, I didn't pay 2 billion naira bribe. Now, all the stories are on page 2 of the Nation newspaper. And we have a story also coming here this morning that says aviation unions are threatening indefinite strike. Negotiation begins. Now, the story is on page 2 of the Nation newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says LP NEC sacks AG chair, Apapa 4 others. National Working Committee tenure extended. That story is on page 4 of the Nation newspaper. We also have a story here that says NBA 6 release of its adopted ex-president Wale, 84,000 candidate seats for rescheduled mock UTME. Now that story is on page 26 of the Nation newspaper. As well, this morning we have a story here that says Ogun, Imo, Benue, 4 other states miss out in federal government 45 billion COVID-19 grant. That story is on page 2 of the Nation newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says court clears ASCSN president of human trafficking charges. Now, the story is on page 4 of the Nation newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says court voids NNPC board's decision in last 15 months. That story, it's on page 4 of the Nation newspaper. As well, we have a story here that says now these are all the stories we have coming from the Nation newspaper this morning, and there's a story that actually caught my attention here. Like we said while we were during the opening of the show, the aviation unions threatening indefinite strike. Now we know what this means. It's not going to be funny at all. A lot of people need to sit up. A lot of people, the government, they need to put hands on deck to make sure that that strike was supposed to be a 2-day warning strike.
And
so
now
maybe their
demands down
because their demands are not yet. The federal government have not been able to meet their demands. Probably that is why they are shutting down. We really do hope that the government will do something, because we know that you cannot even shut the airways. That is not even possible. A lot of things will go wrong. A lot of things will go wrong. Please, we are appealing. This one is something that has to do with every Nigerian, all of us. So please, we appeal that they should immediately see to their demands to avoid these issues we're having.
Mm-hmm. And then there's the major headline. The writer here says Fintiri is Adamawa governor elect. I think I saw that coming. I've been saying it over the days that what if these people come up to declare another person the winner of Adamawa State? I think it's going to tamper the peace
and
of
say
the
what
nation.
we were saying the other day, and they were jubilating the other time. They
Jubilating
were
already,
dancing, and I felt
here
that was
comes
too
this.
early. That was too early. It's really something else. I really do hope that Adamawa will be peaceful, and
I
they will
hope
just
so.
the people there, their followers as well. We understand that these things actually follow the due process, and of course,
Yeah.
in election, you must have a
Hopefully.
winner and a loser. Whosoever that loses should just maybe try next time or go to the judiciary. Of course, that is where you go to settle
Kudos to Fintiri anyway.
yes. And then congratulations to the governor elect of Adamawa State, Fintiri. And then also there's a story here that says DMO report Nigerian defaulting in China a Chinese loan payment. I really do hope that when you borrow, you also pay back. We don't want issues. Yes. Now we'll move on quickly to the next newspaper. And before we go, my part, there's a story here. Binani, I did not pay 2 million naira bribe.
Oh, that's the story all over the news since yesterday, I think. So it's quite sad to even think that Binani would do something like that. But she has been saying she didn't do that. So I don't know. We don't know, boys.
Well, the time that this story is something that is still, like I always say, Adamawa story is something that is still developing. We see more of it, but we really do hope, because a lot of people had hopes on this lady. Whether or not she wins, it will be better that she didn't do anything like this. Because we know she already tried coming to this level. She has tried, and we do hope that this is just something she did not do, because a lot of people would really be disappointed in her. We move quickly to the next newspaper we have.
The next newspaper this morning, coming from The Punch, the major headline says Adamawa governor Fintiri floors Binani, INEC takes Rex case to Buhari. And then the writer here says Fintiri poll 430,861 votes to defeat APC candidate. 13 others PDP supporters jubilate. And I didn't pay 2 billion naira for declaration, says Binani, as court rejects request to stop results. And then the writer here also says INEC asks SGF to report work to Buhari. IG orders Gombe CP to oversee Adamawa pool security. You'll find that story on page 2 of the Punch newspaper this morning. We also have a story here that says striking workers begin airport shut down next week. You find that story on page 12 of the Punch newspaper. Shell removes 460 illegal connections on Trans-Niger pipeline. And you find that story on page 27 of the Punch newspaper. We also have a story this morning that says National Assembly leadership, APC working committee awaits Tinubu Adamu's meeting. You find that story on page 8 of the Punch newspaper this morning. We also have a story that says things fall apart in Warri. And then you find that story on page 3 of the Punch newspaper. And we also have a story this morning that says husband tackles Lagos hospital as wife dies after childbirth. You find that story on page 4 and 5 of the Punch newspaper this morning. And then finally, coming from the Punch, NCAA Pop Lagos, Amsterdam flight store away uncovered in ship hole. You find that story on page 41 of the Punch newspaper. Those are the story making waves this morning, coming from the Punch. And I was like, I'm coming to the studio to ask Princess, because you're from that state. Things fall apart in Warri. What's actually going on?
I think we're having issues with the Olu of Warri and some of his chiefs. We're actually having a little part also here and there. And we know we had a new, there was how will I
I think
call
I heard
them
a
in
story of
English?
somebody returning a
Returning a fake
fake
bid
bid
and
and
all that.
stuff.
So that person that returned the bid, the position was is not given to another person. We read that headline some days
Yes,
ago,
yes,
and
yes.
I think he's the chief. Is it chief of staff? You call them? I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. Those people very close to the
The
king.
king,
Yes,
yeah.
there's a name you call it in my language, but here I don't even know the name. But I think it's chief of staff. So that is the little part also they've been having here and then. And like I said earlier, that is what you get when you are too close as a king. There are things when you take your stand, you take
You
your
take your
stand.
stand,
You
not
don't do
considering your
paddy paddy kind of
yes,
kingship
this
or
is.
friendship, and this is just the result of that.
Mm.
And then there's a story here: a husband tackles Lagos hospital as wife dies after childbirth. Now
That's
that
quite
is
a
a very
sad
sad
one.
one. I think we condole with the man with this woman's family is really sad, and
Yeah,
we're still appealing to these people not to shut down airports. It would be
yeah.
too hard on the people. And then we move on quickly to the next newspaper we have this morning, and this is the Nigerian the Guardian. These are some of the stories we have this morning. All eyes on judiciary as Nigerians await hearing of election petitions. Now that story is on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. We also have a story here that says Fitiri laughs last. Reckless wreck faces prosecution. That story is on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. We also have a story here that says court voids Olomos parks and garages, revalidates RTEAN. That story is on page 8 of the Guardian newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that say AKK pipeline abandoned over alleged 570% inflated contract sum. That story is on page 4 of the Guardian newspaper. Uh, I think these are all the stories we have, but I think the major headline here that these
People still waiting for the
yes, at
judiciary
this
at this
point, a
point.
lot of people. I think the judiciary. Who I know, one of was it Atiko that said the judiciary is on trial, and I think yes, that's the best word
Yes,
to use. I
we are
think they're
really
on
hoping
trial.
on them, and I hope we.
Yes,
And
I really do hope that we know Nigerians, like I said, they've given up hope on a lot of institutions, like already,
yes,
like even the security, the government. But I really do hope
yeah,
that the judiciary will
will
not
not
be
disappoint.
listed among for them.
We hope they
They
will not
should really
disappoint.
keep hope, make Nigerians keep hope alive. They should do what is needful and what is right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then moving to the next newspaper this morning, coming from the Blueprint, the major headline here says, like Mama Taraba, Binani loses bid to be first female governor. Fintiri emerges Adamawa governor elect. And then the writer here say APC candidate denies 2 billion naira bribe to INEC staff. Court hot move to stop results declaration. And so we also have another writer that says, I apologize for the trauma. Governor-elect begs supporters. And then PDP scores 430, 861 votes. APC 398, 788 votes. And then we also have the last rider here that says, IGP sacks Adamawa CP. INEC urges Rex Pop. You find the story on page 5 of the Blueprint newspaper this morning. And so we also have a headline that says, 10th NAS, Bitara takes speakership campaign to Saudi Arabia. And then we also have a story here that says, court stops PDP from suspending Rivers governor-elect, others Wiki loyalists. You find that story on page 30 of the Blueprint newspaper this morning. We have a story also that says 8 Kaduna students escape from kidnappers' den. And then the writer says ex-NBA president Okewole adopted, lawyer begs for release. You find that story on page 7 and 14 of the Blueprint newspaper this morning. And so we have a story that says JAMB extend direct entry registration by 1 week. You find that story on page 15 of the Blueprint newspaper. And so court clears ASCSN President Bola Audu of human trafficking charges. You find that story on page 7 of the Blueprint newspaper. And so we have a story also that says NNPCL board experts raise concerns as court reverses Ara remains sack award 5 billion naira damages. You find that story on page 15 of the Blueprint newspaper this morning. Then we have Eid el-Fitrin, search for the moon, NSCIA tells Muslims. You find the story on page 18 of the Blueprint newspaper. Finally, coming from the Blueprint this morning, and then we have a story that says Discos flaunts federal government directive, customers on estimated billing now 5.91 million. And those are the story this morning coming from Blueprint newspaper. This there's a story that actually caught my attention, and I was happy when I read it.
The
Eight Kaduna students escape from
yes, that is
kidnap.
really a
Yeah,
nice one.
actually, it's a nice
I
one.
think they're very lucky.
Yeah,
because the
it's
way
actually...
these people demand for money as if though
they kept the money there for them.
Yes,
it's a nice one.
I also saw a story here. Search for the moon. I am congratulations ahead to our
a Muslim
faithful.
Yes.
It's not the easy. You know how it is.
The fasting is not easy. Yes, I know a friend that is not looking like a friend.
Yes, it's almost there. So congrats to them. And then we move on this morning to the next newspaper we have, and that would be the Nigerian Tribune. These are some of the stories we have making waves this morning. We have here INEC 6 probe prosecution of Adamawa wreck, writes IGP SGF. And now the writer here says court declines to hear Benani's motion against INEC, queries jurisdiction. Another writer here says IGP remove Adamawa CP, drafts Gombe CP for completion of pool. Atiku PDP governors congratulate Fintiri. Now that all these stories are on page 2 of the Nigerian Tribune. We also have a story here that says court voids Aremu's sack as NNPCL non-executive chairman. That story is on page 4 of the Nigerian Tribune. We also have a story here that says Aburi gets 12 months extension as LP NEC. Suspend Apapa, 5 others. That story is on page 10 of the Nigerian Tribune. We have a story here that says search for shower moon. Tomorrow Sultan tells Muslims. That story is on page 5 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. As well, we have a story here that says aviation workers give FG 7-day ultimatum. That story is on page 4 of the Nigerian Tribune. We also have a story here that says court sacks park managers, restates ROTE AN in Lagos. That story is on page 5 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says that 8 kidnapped female students of Kaduna School escaped from terrorist den. That story is on page 26 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says that subsidy remover, best economic decision to reduce Nigeria's debt. This is coming from LCCI this morning. Now, these are some of the stories we have making waves here on from the Nigerian Tribune newspaper this morning. I saw a story here as well that says subsidy removal, best economic decision to reduce Nigerians' debt. But what of the citizens? So people are just going to be buying fuel for 400, 700, and what becomes of people? Even if you don't have a car, you don't buy credit. The drivers are definitely going to charge you. So a place you're going normally for 500 might just be 1,500 or 1,000, and that would be too harsh.
Actually too much.
Yes, too much on the people. Also, okay, this story here that says with 32,000 73 votes margin, interim flaws Binani. INEC declare him Adamawa governor-elect. Once again, congratulations to the governor-elect. The margin is quite much, if you ask me.
Yeah, it's quite much.
It's much.
It's really, really much. I saw it and I was like, oh, This man actually gave Binani a long gap.
And you remember that the guest we had yesterday said something like this, that they already saw that the margin is much. The guy was already leading and they quickly had to do this. He said something like this yesterday. Anyway, we'll move on quickly.
So the Nigeria Pilots newspaper this morning, and the big headline here says Adamawa Guba Kutiri wins. And the rider here says secure 430, 861 votes against APC, Binani with 398, 788 votes. And then we also say have a rider here that says result ensures he's re-elected for second tenure of another 4 years. And so INEC declaration a victory for democracy in Adamawa, Nigeria, Pintiri. And then commends INEC for restoring dignity of democratic in Adamawa. You find that story on page 8 of Nigeria Pilots newspaper this morning. We also have a story here that says Adamawa Guba Aishatu Binani loses bid to stop poll results. You find that story also on page 8 of the Pilots newspaper this morning. And then we have a story here that says gunmen kidnapped 8 persons in Ogbadigo local government area of Benue State. And then you find that story on page 7 of Nigeria Pilots newspaper this morning. We have a story also that says Buhari meets traditional spiritual leaders in Naka. And you find that story on page 6 of the Pilots newspaper this morning. We have a story here that says PDP calls for arrest of Adamawa Police Commissioner Rec. And then court refuses APC request to sack Governor Tambuwa. We also have a story that says Governor Diri tells federal government to act beyond issuing flood alerts. And then we have a story also from the Nigeria Pilots newspaper this morning that says, I'm under pressure to succeed Obiozo as Ohaneze PG Iwu Anyanwu. And then we have a story that says, court reverses Buhari's sack of Ararumen as NNPCL chairman. And then you find that story on page 7 of the Nigeria Pilots newspaper this morning. Finally, we have a story that says alleged 3 billion naira loot, court fix May 30 for continuation of Benlo's trial. And you find that story on page 9 of the Nigeria Pilots newspaper this morning. Those are the stories making waves from the Pilots newspaper this morning. I think I'll agree with the writer that says INEC and declaration of victory for Adamawa, and there's also a writer that says commend INEC for restoring dignity of democracy in Adamawa. What they say? Well,
that's right. It's a good one.
INEC, well done. We hope that
followers of Binani will be calm and they will understand that this was a transparent process.
It was actually a transparent process
because of what happened. A lot of searchlights was now put on the process, so everybody saw how it went. Yes, I remember the guest we had yesterday had to call me back that it's live now. Like I said earlier on your show, we are counting and it's live and it's so transparent. We are not going to see any lapses. And so I think it's a transparent process. So the followers should understand this and just let peace reign in that state.
Well, kudos to
the
INEC, and well. I thought I was not going to read any case of kidnap or bandits, but funny enough, this is Nigeria. There's no day we come here without reading such.
I do hope that the day will come that we will come here and will not read such things.
And still in Benue State, I think this state really needs help. We should. Government should. That state really needs help.
I feel for the people.
Yes, it's really painful. Anyway,
then I'll move quickly to the next newspaper we have this morning, and this is the Vanguard newspaper. Now, these are some of the stories we have coming from Vanguard newspaper this morning. The major headline here says Adamawa Guba crisis. At last, INEC declares Pintiri winner. And now the writer here says, as INEC writes IGP, SGF, seeks sack, arrest, prosecution of Adamawa wreck. Pintiri commends INEC for standing firm. Extend hands of friendship to contenders. It's victory for democracy. PDP. Atiku congratulates Fintiri, says victory well deserved. IGP replaces Adamawa CP over Governor Poo. Now, all the stories on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. As well, there is a story here that says APC candidate Aisha loses bid to stop result announcement as court declined to hear her expert motion adjourns case till April 26. Now, that story as well is on page 5 of the Guardian newspaper. We'll have a story here as well that says kidnapped Kaduna female students escaped from terrorist den. Now the story is on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. We also have a story here that says China denies funding terrorists to access Nigeria mineral reserves. That story is on page 9 of the Vanguard newspaper. As well, we have a story here that says aviation workers adamant over total shutdown of airports. Now, that story is on page 9 of the Vanguard newspaper this morning. Presidential poll, I am not afraid of lies, propaganda, Peter Obi. And that story is on page 11 of the Vanguard newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says electricity. Disco's revenue falls 25% as unmetered customers increased by 190. That story is on page 19 of the Vanguard newspaper. We also have a story here that says, my family conspired against me, voted Peter Obi Umahi. That story is on page 11 of the Vanguard newspaper. As well, we have a story here that says flight cancellation. Passengers to get 100% immediate refund. Now, this is coming from NCAA this morning on page 9 of the Vanguard newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says, there's another story here that says renewed killings, Buhari's parting gift, Northern Christian elders. That story is on page 25 of the Vanguard newspaper. 10th NAS, why South deserves Senate presidency. And this is coming from Pandef on page 8 of the Vanguard newspaper. Another story here says Ara Rimu. Lawyers, experts raise concern on NNPCL's stability. Court restores him as NNPCL chairman. That story is on page 11 of the Vanguard newspaper. Now, these are all the stories we have making waves here this morning from the Vanguard newspaper. And I'm still happy for this student that escaped, because we know that in such situation, maybe what if they were caught? It would have been something terrible. So we are really happy for them. And then this story here says China denies funding terrorists to access Nigerian mineral reserve. I really do pray that we are not.
We actually have mineral resources actually, but then I don't know if we are using it in our country. But it's actually bad. I think I read this headline this morning and I was like, no, China cannot. I don't know. Let me not say they cannot. They cannot vouch for them. But then,
I think Nigerian government should probe more into this, because this is something serious.
If actually there are people that they are doing this, the Nigerians are involved in this, and it's actually a bad one. Because there's no way they can access our mineral resources.
And there's another story here that caught my attention. They say electricity, Disco's revenue falls 25% as unmetered customers increased by 190,000. I just really I don't understand these power holding companies anymore. There was a time they said that Buhari said that if you don't have meter, don't pay.
Yeah.
But is that
if you have meter, you just subscribe.
That if you don't have, don't pay, and make sure that they give you light. There was a time Buhari said that, and now we still have these issues of. And then when you go to these power holding companies, you see a lot of meters lying everywhere on the floor. Why is it
Yeah.
that they can't give this meter to people?
I don't know. I've heard people
And then
complain
they bring
about
this
going to get
estimated
meter.
billing, so it's so much, and maybe you don't even use, they just estimate from nowhere and give you so much money to pay monthly. I remember my friend then that was living in one self-contained, and the guy was hardly around because then there was nothing in his room. They would be bringing 25,000 monthly.
For what?
How much is the person's salary a month? Now these are some of the issues. Anyway, we'll move on quickly this morning to the last newspaper before we bring in our guest now.
And so coming from Punch Sports Extra, that's we're moving down to the sports this morning. The major headline here says best gifts for Baka. And then we have a story also that got me laughing. The video begins football talent hunt. You find that story on page 7 of Punch Sports Extra this morning. We also have a story that says injured Ajuke returns after 4 months. Welcome home, bro. And then we have a story here that says Gallas to Balogun return to Arsenal. And that's Gallas telling Balogun to return to Arsenal. Okay, we have a story also that says Iwobi on Wizard winger. Iwobi on Wizard winger. We also have a story that says Leeds win best performance of season. That story is on page 4 of Punch Sports Extra this morning. And so we have a story also that says Abdul Karim, food seller turned cricket star. Okay, that's actually a nice one. A food seller, Abdul Karim, a food seller turned cricket star. We also have a story this morning from the Punch Sports Extra that says Osimhen scores, but Milan advanced to the final, to semi-final. And Osimhen scores, but Milan advanced to semi-final. You find that story on page 8 of the Punch Sports Extra newspaper this morning. Those are some of the news making waves this morning from the Punch Sports Extra.
Just before we wrap up this morning, I think I'm in love with Davido's move. We have a lot of.
I was laughing when I read that, but that's actually courageous.
Yes, that is another place to invest, and I think they should pull out. We have good players here, so they should.
That's a good one.
Yes, they are just looking for people to mentor them, of course, to bring them in as well. You know why it is here in the country most time. You have a lot of people wallowing somewhere, just playing balls here and there without nobody noticing them. So I think this is a way also, and something that the youth should actually applaud. We are applauding this. Is a very good move. This is where we'll wrap up the newspaper reviews this morning. But like I promised earlier, I'm going to be bringing a guest in now to discuss some of these issues bordering on the nation and, of course, bordering on everyone. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
RTV London, in partnership with NTA TV Enterprise, present the maiden edition of the Nigerian Week in the capital of the world, London. A wonderful blend of entertainment, business, and networking, displaying a wide range of art, national cash crops, financial products and services, and real estate. For huge extra opportunity in diaspora, look no further. The 36 states of the Federation, the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture, Trade and Investment, the Nigerian Film Corporation, and host of others will be in attendance. Date 15 to 21st of May 2023. Venue Lighthouse, Camberwell, Southeast London. For details, log on www.superradiotelevision.com/Nigerian Week or call +447 549 513 619 or +234 814 358 2856. The Nigerian.
Ladies, are you ready to shine? Here's a golden opportunity for you to show the world the queen in you. As the second edition of Face of SRTV Ladies Edition is about to begin. What are you waiting for? Register online with just 500 naira and stand a chance of winning a cash prize of 100,000 naira and the deal of becoming our ambassador. There will also be consolation prizes for second and third place winners. To register, kindly pay the registration fee and send your name, age, picture, and state of origin to this number 0906 895 2170. For more inquiries, please call 0907 400 7816. Powered by SRTV London, the face of SRTV, who takes the crown.
You're welcome back from that quick break, and like before that break, I promised that I was going to come back with a guest to dissect some of these issues bordering on us. I have with me here in the studio Comrade Danielson Apban, of course, the global president, African Youth Democratic Congress, and he was the former national president of the Nigerian Student Association. You're welcome this morning, Comrade. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning to you, KESSY, and everyone in the studio.
Good morning, sir.
How are you doing this morning, sir? How have you been? Such a long time. Nice to have you here with us this morning. Yes, long time no interview. Okay, the quick one. Yes, quick one, comrade. Now, as the former president of NAS, tell us about the student unionism in Nigeria now.
Student unionism in Nigeria now?
Yes.
Well, I think they are very well, if I must say. Yeah, but basically, for some of us, we're done with whenever we're done with an assignment in an environment, we move ahead. So I may not be in the right position to answer you. You know, maybe the public can, or those who are presently leading the organization. Yeah.
Okay, sir.
People call me, you know, from time to time saying, oh, this and this and that. But constantly I tell them I have other bigger responsibility I'm faced with, and I keep growing. So I really would not like to look back.
Okay, sir, but you were once the former president. So tell us, there's this public perception that politicians always influence leadership of student unionism in Nigeria. Tell us, how true is that?
Well, first, I will respond by saying any environment you find yourself, whether as an individual, you know, or as a politician or as a business person, you like to get involved in whatever it is that you are involved or you are consulted on. I'm trying to say that there is no reason why anybody should not be interested in the leadership of a student organization like NANS. I mean, NANS is the largest student body in Africa with the largest population, and of course it's the largest black student movement in the entire world. So it's a very large organization. Without trying to say, whether politicians should be involved or not, I'm just going to tell you that every well-meaning person, whether it's a politician or a corporate person, should be interested in the affairs of students. I mean, having made all the money even in corporate organizations, you should be interested in education. You should be interested in giving back to the society. You should be interested in the support of young people. And where do you find the young people to invest in their future and their lives? It's in the university, tertiary institution, in primary school. And these are all members of the National Association of Nigerian Students. So if anyone, in whichever capacity, become interested in the affairs of the student, I think it makes it better. Yeah, not necessarily politician. A senior banker, you know, someone in civil society can be interested, because NANS is a platform that shows out, you know, leadership for tomorrow. So you should give mentorship. I mean, there's nothing wrong if it's a politician or a business or corporate person is interested, or even as entity are interested in the affairs of students.
Okay, President. So now, but I just want you to shed more light. Compared to then, you were the president, and now, what are the changes you've observed so far? Are we moving forward? Yes.
I will. I'm trying not to, you know, be boxed into the comparison. I think you guys should be the one to do that. Yeah, but then everyone has his own leadership style and you know, manifestos that he comes into office to implement. As president of NANS, it was a priority to me that the interest of Nigerian students must be protected at all times and at all places. And of course, that no matter who's on his goals, that I was going to do everything possible to defend the mandate and, of course, protect Nigerian students, which I did to the best of my ability. And, you know, you will see cases of, students oppression, students intimidation, sex for mark, xenophobia attack, even that has to do with students abroad and in the diaspora, especially like South Africa, who were so much involved. And it was quite unusual of the leadership of lands to get involved in such bilateral matters. But we did in my time. And to the glory of God, lands can take the glory for stopping the killing of Nigerians and Nigerian youths in South Africa since 2019. And this used to be a recurring matter, like
yes.
Almost every month.
Every year, yes.
But monthly, you hear the killing of Nigerian youths who have gone to South Africa to OKOSUN to, find a means of getting something to do. Of course, we know the population here in Nigeria and the unavailability of jobs and employment. So people go to places to seek greener pasture. Even in Ghana, in Kenya, you find Nigerians everywhere. And there's a saying that anywhere you go and you don't see Nigerians, it's not a good place for you to stay.
That is right.
So then, you see, so people were there and they were being killed, and it was constantly reported. And I mean, the media, you guys should do due diligence by x-raying some of these achievements and of course putting it there in the public. The best time to talk about performances is when people are out of office, not when they are there.
When they are there.
X-ray, check. You understand? Because when you're saying it when they are there, it amounts to hypocrisy, or you're just trying to do what they call bootlicking.
Well, that is some of I was gonna yes.
And you may also recall when we were in office, there were several issues that bothered on students' welfare. In Bauchi, OTBU, there was a bridge collapse. The students' life was lost, and without wasting time, we were there. We drove all through the night to get to Bauchi, and we resolved the matter. In fact, because of our intervention, the military, we were able to get the military to come in and construct a very good bridge for the students, use and other commuters within the university community. And the bridge is standing till date. And we were able to also, visit the family of the students, the student that died. We did a lot of activities, beyond the jamboree of leadership. We were committed to the welfare of the students. And of course, talking about the country, we're always interested in the polity. We're always interested in the policy that we're being churned out by government. We're always talking. We're always active. And I don't know. So you
wow, yes, comrade, president, we say a job well done. Yeah. We know you did quite a lot. Maybe we're just going to bring you on a full show later as regards to that, to illustrate some of these things, like you said. And I was going to ask you some of the achievement, but thank God you've outlined some, and then we say kudos to you. Moving away from NAS issue now, the 2023 general election has been seen as the worst election, even though some people applauded the election. Now, what's your opinion? Do you share this belief?
Thank you, KESSY. Thank you, everyone. For me, I like to start off this conversation by making reference to a general saying that the worst form of democracy is better than the best form of military or any other form of government.
Okay.
So democracy is a process. It is not what you believe that you get right from the beginning. I mean, for every contest, for every election, there must be a winner, except you want to throw it into anarchy and crisis. Otherwise, there must be a winner. And whichever way, once you have a winner, there must be people who will not be satisfied. I give you an example. When I was contesting to be president of lands, and maybe for the first time, someone from the South would use the slot of the North to become the president of the student movement. And a lot of people felt it was not going to be allowed, it was not going to be possible, Well, we said, okay, let's put it to vote. Yeah, I mean, this is about numerical strength, popular voice. And by the time we went into election, the people, including the Northerners, find me to be good enough to represent them in that capacity. And they voted for me. But again, that will not make those who were against that to stop. They went ahead, they created faction. Some of them even created another union out of the organization. Then we were thrown into trying to balance and, of course, an opportunity to settle all of these issues. So this is exactly what happens when it comes to politics, because power is not served a la carte. You're struggling with a lot of persons. You're struggling with a lot of persons who wants to get to where you also want to get into. So there must be a lot of contestation. There must be a lot of, attack, a lot of accusations and counter-accusation. But moving forward, what we should understand is that in the end, majority always have their way, while minority will have their say. Now, yes, it will not be a perfect election. But then I would not think it's fair to describe it as the worst. I think this is an election that came through processes of primaries, of various parties, drew up their candidates. Of course, you remember, in Nigeria, we don't have individual contest. It is based on party. You must have a platform to run on.
That is true.
The party primaries came up, and of course, people were thrown up. You have this for Labour, you have APC, you have PDP, you have ABGA, you have them, name it. And they went into election. At the end of the day, for me, I feel that what we should be excited about is that the country is not thrown into turmoil.
That is very
true. Why I laugh when I see my generation, go to Ministry of Defense in Abuja and clamoring that military should take over. I think it's just a joke that has been taken too far. Because we know that you cannot compare, just like I mentioned, that quote of the worst form of democracy. You can never compare it.
That
you
is
can't
true.
go to ask military to come back and take over leadership in a country like Nigeria that have suffered so many decades to be returned into democracy. Look at what is happening in Sudan. Look at what has happened in other countries where they have to grapple with the influence of military, where they have to struggle with military taking over. We don't need Taliban here.
Okay.
We don't need people who will come and throw us back into those days where we cannot even have full expression. Today, a lot of media houses are being thrown up. People, use their Twitter, their Facebook to express themselves.
That is true.
There's nothing like that.
Nothing like that.
Okay, sir.
Maybe to have a procession, let alone go to military headquarters to come and tell
what to do. Yes.
Okay, sir. Moving down to the global poll. What's your opinion on the Adamawa Reg, who usurped the power of the RO of the governorship election? Do you think his suspension is in order? What's your opinion on that, sir? The Adamawa saga.
Well, I see INEC as a system. Yes, I see INEC as a system. And I must say that, first, for anyone to be able to do that in INEC, it means that a lot of things are wrong, and INEC needs to really check itself properly and point itself off of, such elements who can come out and do things in that manner. It is really laughable and it's condemnable that a man who has claimed to possess MNI. MNI is a title given to very revered Nigerians. And people also come from different parts of the world to come and study there and get that title. So it therefore means that it's not everyone that even attended the institution that get it eventually. But he got it. And of course, that he could do a show of shame is completely an embarrassment to Nigeria and of course to INEC. So, well, they've issued a statement. I hope this statement suffices. And of course, I haven't had the election properly declared or the result of the election properly declared may actually settle the other part of it. But talking about INEC as a system, I think they need to really go back home and sit down and do a lot of due diligence within themselves.
That is right.
So we can do that at that level. Others may want to, follow suit.
That is true.
In the future.
Just before we let you go, President, now tell the viewers about your organization, African Youth Democratic Congress.
Well, African Youth Democratic Congress is an assemblage of young people across Africa, and we believe in democracy. We believe in the entrenchment of democracy in all the countries of the world. But of course, Africa is a centerpiece, and it has been our responsibility to go around, preach democracy, preach good quality education, healthcare, and of course human rights. So African Democratic Congress have branches in all the African countries, and we have some coordinating arms in parts of Asia, Northern, and of course Southern America. We have in Europe. We have in virtually all the continents of the world, and our mission is majorly to promote democracy.
Well, that's a very good one, President, and of course a good place as well to wrap up the show with you this morning. Thank you so much for being on the show. One of these days, we might just want to bring you on a full segment to have you here live with us in the studio. Well, we appreciate you this morning. Thank you. I've been on the show with Comrade Danielson Akban, Global President, African Youth Democratic Congress, and the former President, National Association of Nigerian Students. We appreciate you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Day.
Do have a nice day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, we've been on the call with Comrade Danielson Akban, Global President, African Youth Democratic Congress, and he was the former President, National Association of the Nigerian Students. He has said it. I picked something from what he said. INEC should go back and purge the system.
Well, I think what I picked from what he said was, I cannot believe people are actually asking the Nigeria go back to military. Do you know what it means for us to go back to military regime?
Even when we couldn't do with SACS, we had to do SACS.
Now we want to go to military.
I don't think you want that. Let's just manage this one. We end up doing like that.
Please, let's
everybody has freedom. It's not so you come on social media, you tweet and you do what you like.
Next thing you're in jail. Man, no. When it's military regime, people will know how to handle their phones and what to tweet, because what you tweet, you just land in jail.
Forget what data is. You just answer your calls, and even with fear sometimes, because you don't know who might be tapping on your calls.
Please, so let's just stay with this.
Anyway, he did very well as a NAS president. Like he stated some of those things. We might just want to bring him on the show on a full segment so that he can tell us.
Very important.
Yes. Yeah. That's a good place to wrap up the show this morning. And just before we go, we are appealing to politicians and their supporters. Be calm, remain calm, be still. And we know, like I said earlier, this was a transparent process as far as we are concerned. So please let peace. Let's give peace a chance when it comes to issues like this. Wafa, thank you so much for being part of the show with us this morning.
Thank you.
We also appeal to the federal government to, as a matter of urgency, see to the needs and demands of the aviation workers, because this is something we are giving another 7-day ultimatum. I think this is not going to be funny. Please, let's just see to their demands. Just before we go, let's not forget that Nigerian Week London that is fast approaching. Do what you get your stamp, take your tickets, and of course, it's going to be fun galore. The food, the music, the film, and of course, the business opportunity. A lot of people already partnering with us. A lot of people will be participating, talking about musicians, agents, and ministries, and of course, individuals. Do what to be part of it, and don't forget also to click on the notification bell, like and page, share content, and of course, invite people to the page, because we have a lot of interesting programs here in SRO TV. But thank you once again for being part of the show. It has been a fun ride. We'll do this again tomorrow. Before then, we need to stay safe while you're at the theater. Please drive carefully. And remember,
peace is priceless.
So let's give peace a chance. I remain your story princess, KESSY.
And I am Patience OKOSUN.
Bye.
RTV London, in partnership with NTA TV Enterprise, present the maiden edition of the Nigerian Week in the capital of the world, London. A wonderful blend of entertainment, business, and networking, displaying a wide range of arts, national cash crops, financial products and services, and real estate for huge extra opportunity in diaspora. Look no further. The 36 states of the Federation, the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture, Trade and Investment, the Nigerian Film Corporation, and host of others will be in attendance. Date 15 15th to 21st of May 2023. Venue, Lighthouse, Camberwell, Southeast London. For details, log on www.superiorradiotelevision.com/Nigerian Week or call +447 549 513 619 or +234 814 358 2856. The Nigerian Week, celebrating the best of Nigeria from the rest.